Hey, and welcome to Worth Mending. I'm Alicia, and today I'm going to be weaving a little tiny tapestry using our Swift darning loom. If you're just tuning into this series, you can click back and watch part 1 and 2. Part 2 is where I wove most of this tapestry, and you can watch me struggle through trying to keep all of my edges tamed. Here's where we left off. So I do need to weave these in. That's what the back looks like. I need to weave in all of these ends. Well, let's wiggle this out and get our stick all nice and snugly situated as I further avoid that task of weaving in all of those ends. You'll recall from last video that I squished all of those pink threads down a whole bunch to try and get as many passes in as possible with my shuttle, and then also to leave enough room to get my hanging stick in those loops. And now I'm letting all of that pink yarn rebound back up to the top so that everything blends together and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like it grew there. As you well know by now, I'm pretty new to weaving, and I'm not really sure if this is a technique that folks use frequently or not. In the limited kind of watching and learning and research I've done, people seem to cut the ends off and then re-wrap it onto their stick, but again with the ends, you know? And this feels stronger too, just directly leaving it on those warp threads. So I'm really hoping that this little bit of fussing here pays off. I don't love how gappy this is. I might try to tighten it up when I weave in some ends. I think that shape is looking pretty good. Fooled me. I think I would like to tidy up all of these ends before I deal with this fringe. Oh, this one's real short. I'm gonna weave these ends in just the same way I always do the really short ones, by just weaving the needle back through first and then threading it. And I think it's best if I keep light colors together. So I'm going to weave this green into the green and then the pinks into themselves as well. Since this is just an art tapestry, I don't think I have to worry as much about these ends working loose with wear like I do on mending. It's a little tricky with the short end, but I always love this folded piece of paper trick. Everyone needs to know it. When I'm able to weave in vertically like this, I just make sure I'm always only catching the loops on the back of the weaving. That way they stay hidden in that channel. I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what I do with each of the ends, so I'm just going to repeat that process for each of the loose ends that you see here. So there are some holes here because I didn't wrap these threads around each other as I was weaving, and I'm just going to try grabbing kind of one from each side and pulling these darker pink threads through. Does seem to have helped, and it doesn't seem very visible from the front side either, so that's a win in my books. So since now this yarn is actually doing kind of a structural job, I'm not going to cut it there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tuck this back down into one of these channels. That looks a lot better. All my ends are in now, and I'm really glad that I did the ends first before doing the fringe because I can still pull and adjust these warp threads to get this piece to lay kind of more flat. Just so wonky. Just so organic and abstract. Last step is going to be to pull this cardboard out and then see how we want to deal with this fringe. This is the first time that I've added a piece of cardboard like this at the bottom. I didn't really think it through. I saw somebody else do it, but I don't actually like their finishing technique, so I'm going to just have to fake it. Fake it till we make it. So I got 2 pieces of thread doubled over, and I'm going to hook them into this anchoring stitch that I also did in cotton down here at the bottom. And then attach everything together like this and pull that through my loop. And that's going to be our fringe.
What I'm doing here is just bulking up the warp threads that had been looped around the cardboard at the bottom so they're longer than the rest of my weaving, using 2 strands of cotton that I cut to the same length, then fold them in half and hook them into each pair of warps all the way across.
Okay, a fringe. I think this whole piece is like, I don't know, I have to decide on how short I want to make these fringes. But I don't feel qualified to make that decision yet. As I mentioned, this is my first time using this cardboard method to make space for the fringe, and I don't love it. This didn't get secured in a very good way, so I'm just trying to keep everything in place. My current strategy is snipping these loops and then tying a double knot here, like a square knot. I then still just have to deal with how long I want this fringe to be, because if I want them all to be about the same length, I gotta cut it around here. And that's a choice. Tying those knots seems to have fixed the problem. I think next time I would just need to make sure that my loops at the bottom are a lot longer so that I can keep a longer natural fringe. This is how I cut my own hair too, so. Then I've been using the same thread as I use for my warps to make a little chain stitch hanger, and then I secure that to the stick.
For my hanging loop, I leave a long tail on either end of my chain, wrap it a few times around the stick with some knots to secure it, and then weave what's left of that long end in so it's nice and strong. I'll just leave this here at regular speed so that you can see how I did it rather than me trying to explain every little detail. This process here is how I have finished most, if not all, of my tapestries so far. So I'm fairly confident in my strategy, but I'm sure it will evolve and change with more practice, just like everything I do. There we have it, my delightfully organic pink tapestry all done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.